One of the highlights of the reunion was a question and answer session between truck owners and some of the men who helped develop the Scout, including original designer Ted Ornas. Joining him were Charles McGrew, Starkey Hoot, Larry Nicklin, and Lee Mack on the left. Ted Ornas also received an award from the Truck Club.
Here's a little story about a man named Ted. Industrial designer, barely kept his family fed. While drawing at his table, you could really hear him shout. Up from the clutter came the Harvester Scout. International, that is. Four-wheel drive. Man, what a truck. Just before you know it, old Ted's a big success. Kinfolk said, hey, Ted, you're really blessed. People come from all around to honor what he's done. To us, Dad, you're always number one.
Ted, how did you get the idea for the vehicle?
Well, one day, Mr. Reese, the manager of engineering, and some executives returned from the trip to the Midwest. That was in the spring of about 1958. And we had a very brief meeting, and he says, Ted, why don't you design something to replace the horse? Now, that's a pretty big, the horse evolved over many a year, and there was no product definition for the Scout. And we did a lot of searching, and the sort of the critique that was sort of said it had to be flat-sided, and it was going to look something like the CJ or the military Jeep that was popular. And that didn't excite any of the executives. So there was several months of real frustrating work. And it looked like the program was going to die, and I came home one night very frustrated, and I picked up a scrap of mat board, and I dashed off this silly little sketch that you have reproduced here. And my wife says, well, heck, that isn't too bad. Why don't you show that? Well, I was a little nervous about that, but I showed that to the product planner at the time, and he looked at it with very controlled enthusiasm. But that was the basic way that the Scout 80 started. Now, there's more to the story, but that's about it.
Well, how did the vehicle evolve from your original concept to what was actually produced?
Well, then Goodyear had a post-war group that were into fiberglass reinforced plastics, and they were looking for big-scale projects to manufacture. So we took that funny little sketch and fine-tuned it into a scale model and vacuum formed the parts, and it was made out of really like a little toy car, a little plastic model car. And they went through the whole exercise of costing, manufacturing, and whereas the product cost wasn't too bad, the tooling cost wasn't too bad, the product cost was way out of line. But by that time, all the people the executives were kind of excited about that thing, and they said, well, heck, let's make it out of steel. So we did. We modified the mock-up, or the little scale model, and went into a full-size model. And we took two of our very skilled sculptors and our equipment, and we had to do it in Detroit because we were out of space. And inside of 3 months, we had what came out to be the Scout 80.
And what was your reaction when you saw something completely evolve from a simple drawing on a piece of paper to the actual vehicle?
Well, I don't get too excited about it because I've seen that all my life, and I get a little more excited about it now when I see what has happened to it, and to see that there is a group of people that still like the Scout as far as an RV type vehicle. Because, the Scout was originally going to be a commercial type pickup for short hauls. So yes, I get kind of thrilled now, but before it was just my job.
Where did you come up with the name Scout?
Well, that was a real interesting story. As I mentioned before, the only product on the market that was similar to what we were thinking of was the CJ5 and the CJ6, and it was the Jeep. And those of us working in the styling group got sick and tired of having everybody say the Jeep type concept or the Jeep this, Jeep that. So I said, let's start brainwashing these people and let's put up some names. And we went through quite a few names, and finally the Scout appearing on the drawings seemed to catch on a little bit, and they decided that yes, we're going to use it, except that we found that an outfit in Canada that made a all-terrain crawler tractor type unit had the name Scout. So then we tried to modify that, and we couldn't do it, so the executives decided, in all their vast knowledge, and to go out and buy the name from the person, and that's how the Scout came about.
What were you working on at the time that the Scout went out of business, basically, with International Harvester?
Well, we were attempting to develop a new composite body system that would. The reason the Scout was going out, we couldn't afford to invest in tooling for the kind of volumes we had, so we decided to investigate a new technology, and we were getting up to a point where at least we were able to hand make these things and meet all the government requirements, but then because of the other problems in the company at that time, in the what was around 1980, it was finally decided to eliminate it.
And how do you feel as far as the popularity of the vehicles today, the all-terrain vehicles, the four-wheel drive vehicles, things like that? How do you feel they compare with the Scout, and how do you feel the Scout would survive in today's world?
Well, I think what they have today is really a glorified concept over what we have. When you look at the price of those units, 20 to 25,000, and but at least it's there, and the market probably won't change because people are looking for something a little more adaptive than a conventional car. And it's amazing that there is that strong trend in that particular type of vehicle, plus the expense.
One of the gentlemen we talked to earlier was talking about some of the designs you were working on 13 years ago that look very, very similar to some of the designs that have come out now. I think it's amazing that someone could have such foresight that would be able to see into the future this far. Can you tell me a little bit about those designs?
Well, we had a real interesting one called Unit X, which was a motorhome that would handle like a car. It's very similar in concept to the latest minivans, except we increased the width. We had front-wheel drive back in '74. We had a bathroom, a full tub, and all those little convenient things, and low floor. And that had a lot of interest in that time, except the pricing on that came up to tooling costs ran around $70 million for a rather unknown market. That was too much to chin. And we tried other small concepts and little package delivery vehicles based on the composite technology, but we had to give them up because of other problems in the company.
What's your reaction to see the number of people that do have Scouts and are refurbishing them and driving them and showing them?
Well, I think it's quite thrilling because when the Scout went out of production, I thought, oh boy, those things are just going to rust away and end up in the junk heap. And it's thrilling to see what these people do with this vehicle.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.